Ooh, it's that time of the month, guys. It's October. You know what that means? It's Halloween. And what am I going to reveal today? Well, let's review a certain spooky, scary skeleton, the high-grade Universal Century Crossbone Gundam X-0 full cloth. What makes this even better is that this is my first P-Bandai review kit. If you're new here, you might be asking, what's a P-Bandai kit? Well, two things. It's an exclusive kit, and the color of the box is monochrome. As for the backstory, it did appear in the Gundam series called Crossbone Gundam, and I'm not that far into the manga series, but I do know that these Gundams are known to have tons of weapons. There is two versions of this kit. One is the Crossbone X-0, which has the weird plastic cloth thing, and the Crossbone X-0 full cloth has this nice, I don't know what you call it, but you know what I mean. Taking a look at the box art, almost kind of give me some real great vibes because you get the full body shot of the Gundam itself, and in the background you have the Crossbone X-0 ready to cut you up. This side of the box just tells you the name, and the other side of the box, it tells you the name again. Inside the box, we are greeted with seven bags of runners and a manual. Now, I'm not going to dive deep into the manual like how I always do, but just so you know, since you just saw like 7 bags of runners, it's going to be quite the long build. And for P-Bandai kits, you don't see like the painted kit or any colored pictures. Runner A is going to be the metallic silver parts, and it looks like we have parts for the ankle armor. Those are parts for the torso, legs, thigh, side skirts, head, beam saber handles, hand covers, and I believe those are parts for the sword. Runner B is going to be the joint parts, and it is gray with a hint of purple, I believe. But it looks like we have some hand parts and parts for the waist, and it looks like we have knives. Runner C is going to be more metallic silver parts. We have parts for the torso, those are parts for the shoulder, and these two, well, I don't know yet. Skipping letter D, we're going to go straight to E. It's going to be the metallic red parts, and I got to be really careful with this because I don't know how bad the nub marks are going to be, but it looks like we have parts for the feet, and I believe that's parts for the head. Runner F is going to be the pink beam saber effect parts. Runner G1 is going to be more metallic silver parts. We have parts for the core fighter, the skirts, those are parts for the back skirt, that's face parts, head parts, backpack, and that's parts for the backpack, shoulders, arms, and Runner G2 is going to be a copy of this section. Runner H1 is going to be more the grayish purple parts, and those are parts for the backpack. That's also parts of the backpack as well. We have thrusters, and H2 is going to be a copy of this section. Runner I is going to be the gray parts, and those are definitely parts for the crossbow, but I think there is a special name to it. I just forgot what it's called. Runner J is going to be the white parts, and that's going to be parts for the sword. I think these are parts for the full cloth armor, and I believe that's a back skirt. We won't be using these, and let's appreciate the little skull detail on these parts. Runner K is going to be more metallic silver parts, and looks like we have parts for the full cloth armor, and those are parts for the torso, and that's parts for the head, I believe. There is no L1, but we have L2, and those are going to be parts for the front skirts. In case you're wondering where is L1, well, there are other crossbone variants. Skipping the letter M, we're going to go right to N1. It's going to be a multicolored parts. We have white parts right here, gray parts, beam saber effect parts, a metallic red parts. We have runner N2, which is going to be a copy of this section, but it adds the yellow parts right there. Finally, here we have runner O1, which is the gray parts, and runner O2, which is the metallic silver parts. The bendable wire, let's hope it'll last for a while. Small polycap runner, and something that the Crossbone Gundam is infamous for, the big sticker sheet. Some of these kind of look passable because you're basically going to lay it down on a flat surface, but if it's like the folding one, yeah, that's a no-no. So that about wraps up the unboxing, and judging by the amount of runners and parts, you can definitely tell it's going to be a very long build. But hey, you know what? I'm not complaining. Now I'll see you guys after the build. And here is the Crossbone Gundam X-0 full cloth all put together. And as for building experience goes, I thought it might take long, but it turns out it doesn't take as long as I thought it would be. It will probably take you like maybe not 2 hours, maybe 3 or 3.5 hours. And there are some very small pieces that you really had to be careful with. For the full cloth unit, yes, that is the name. Try not to play around with it too much, because if you do, it will pop off a little too easy. Now the thing is, if you're going to commit to it, you're going to have to glue it. Or actually, better yet, use like a little dab of super glue just to thicken up the peg so it won't pop off easily. And in case if you don't like those, you can always replace it with this little tiny piece. I know I'm talking about the extra parts first, but I want to get that out of the way before I talk about the actual accessories. And if you don't like this pop-up collar look-alike, you can always replace it with a regular collar piece. You do have other pieces for the other Crossbone variant head. I forgot the name of it, but let me know in the comments below just to refresh my memory. But if you prefer this one, you're going to have to transfer the V-fin, the forehead piece, and the face plate, and the red chin, and put on right here. If you don't like the design of this back skirt, you can always replace it with this one, but since this is a different color, if you want to put it on this kit, you're going to have to paint it silver. And for the last of the spare parts, you do have these spare full cloth unit parts, and I had no idea what I'm going to do with these, so I'll think of something. As you're building this kit, you have two options for the face, either the closed mouth, or if you look very closely, it's the open mouth. So I went with the open mouth. It's one of those cases that you have to choose one and commit to it. As for sticker placement goes, well, it's going to be a long one, so buckle up. The eye stickers, of course, go on the eyes. These white stickers go on the top of the V-fin. The gray circles go onto the full cloth units. Now, this one, you can barely see it, but the number 3 stickers, they go onto this part of the shoulders or collar. Taking off one of the full cloth units, the number 4 stickers go on the front of the shoulder, while the number 5 stickers go on the back of the shoulder. And now we're on the backpack. The number 6 and 7 sticker set is going to go onto these little tiny thrusters, so pay attention where to place them. This wraparound sticker goes onto this crotch piece, even though they can easily give us a black piece. Yeah, I feel like I'm dragging on with the stickers and it's getting a little irritating, so I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can. These gray stickers go onto these white parts of the full cloth unit, while these red stickers, well, they're like little red accents that go onto the full cloth unit. While these yellow wraparound stickers go onto these little thrusters on the full cloth unit. Pay attention where it goes. And this little green sticker right here goes onto this part of the gun as a sensor. Finally, these little stickers go onto the knees. Man, why would Bandai do this to us? On the bright side, at least they're molded details so you can easily paint them in. And speaking of details, look at that surface detail on the full cloth unit. Yeah, you're gonna have fun panelining these guys. As for proportions, remember how I said in the F91 review that it should be a little shorter? Yeah, I wish for the same thing for this kit right there. As for seam lines, starting off with the head, there's one going straight down, but it could pass for a detail. There is a seam line going across the shoulder, but since you are going to put on the full cloth unit, it's basically going to hide it. Now we're at the back of the leg. There is one seam line going across, but that goes as a detail. And there's one tiny little seam line right there, but you're not going to see it. This one is a seam line, but once again, that could go as a detail. Now, before I go start working on this kit, I forgot to talk about the color separation. The color separation on this kit, it's mostly well done. I can't blame Bandai for giving us extra like little yellow pieces or black parts because this is a tiny mobile suit. And plus, it's a high grade, so you're going to have to forgive him for that. If you excuse me, I'm going to work on this kit, and I'll see you guys right after that. And here is the Crossbone Gundam X-0 all painted up. And my painting experience, well, it's actually not that hard. And when I top coated this kit, I used semi-gloss instead of my usual favorite matte finish, but I'm not sure if just using semi-gloss makes a difference. Let me know in the comments below if I should have just gone with matte top coat. But on the bright side, it still looks pretty good to me. Moving on to accessories, and you guys better buckle up because this Gundam is armed to the teeth. Don't tell TFG I stole his content. Starting off with the hand options, you can see he already has the usual weapon holding hands, 2 trigger finger hands that is sculpted in an angle, and another weapon holding hand that is for the right side, but it's also sculpted in an angle. Remember those trigger finger hands I showed you? Well, it is for this buster gun, or some of you might call it the flintlock pistol. And for weapon storage, it does have a peg so you can store it in the side skirts. Next you have the beam Zamber, or some of you may like to call it the beam pirate sword for simplicity's sake, and yes, that is the effect part for it. For weapon storage, here's a peg, and you know what to do, store it in the side skirts. Bringing back the pirate gun, you can actually combine these weapons and turn it into the Zanbuster. To combine them, starting off with the sword, you take this piece out, rotate it, put this on top, and for the pirate gun, bring this down, bring this piece up and whoop bam. Have him hold it. You can't use your standard weapon holding hands. That is when this hand comes in. Next up, you have the Butterfly Buster and Butterfly Buster B. Well, how do I know the difference? Butterfly Buster B has the single barrel. And what can all three of them do? Well, they have the gun mode, of course, and they can turn into the saber mode. Alright, so I'm going to show you how you gotta go from gun mode to saber mode. I'm going to use one of them because all three of them are basically the same process. Pull the barrel out, flip the handle down, insert this right there, pull out the middle piece, don't lose the middle piece, and put the beam saber effect part in. The small peg goes into the front. Now, unfortunately, you'll only get 2 of these. Taking a break from these complicated weapons, next up you have 2 of these daggers. Next up you have another set of daggers, but this time they go under the foot, and it goes into this little slot right here. Make sure the pointy thing faces this way. Now we're going back to complicated weapons. Next up, you have the Kujaku. Yeah, I know it's a funny name. So right now, you're looking at the Smasher mode, or for simplicity's sake, you can call it the Crossbow mode. And if you want to turn to the sword, and here's how it looks, and I believe the handle of mine's a little loose. And if you guys already have this kit, let me know if you're having the same problems. And to make this thing look badass, you don't get 1, you don't get 2, but you get 3 beam saber effect parts. To attach the side ones, you get one of these, but make sure the shortest one goes close to the tip. Pull this tip off, and you put this beam saber effect part in, and here's how it looks. And it is taller than the Crossbone Gundam itself. And of course, there is a peg. You know what to do. Speaking of these effect parts, they also go to another accessory, which would be called the Muramasa Blaster. I mean, it does have 2 handles on it, so you can hold it as a gun or the sword. Plug these effect parts the same way, and look, another peg. And say it with me, guys, it goes on the side skirts. Next up, you have the Peacock Smasher, or the crossbow if you want to call it that. And I did paint in the little silver details. And can you guess what's under my thumb? Yep, another peg. And I am not going to say it again. Next up, you have these grapple front skirts. Remember I showed you it was 1 long wire in the unboxing? It say you can cut it whatever length you want, but I decided to cut it in half. To use it, it's basically popping off the crotch piece. I switch the front skirt for these guys. And here's how it looks. Next up, you have 2 beam saber handles with 2 beam effect parts. And unfortunately, you can't store the beam saber handles. And for the last accessory, the core fighter. And there is a 3mm hole on it, so you can put it on an action base. And if you do want to display the core fighter, make sure you take this part of the backpack out of the crossbone, and you just plug it in right here, fold these down, and you can have it whooshing around. And that is all for the accessories. And for you Crossbone Gundam fans out there, well, I'm sorry to say this, but it doesn't come with the effect parts where you can make the beam shield or these beam spikes where it can do the punching thing. And if you do have the HGUC Crossbone Gundam, well, the X1 retail release, you know that I'm talking about these guys. And once again, just to avoid the confusion, this P-Bandai kit does not come with these effect parts. What I'm trying to say is that if you have these lying around, you can bring it over to this kit so it can use it. Right, so that's enough about accessories, and my god, we just took a whole lot of time on that one. Let's just keep moving and get into the articulation. Okay, so I have to take out one of the full cloth units just for simplicity's sake, so I can show you articulation separately. So the head is on a double ball joint. The shoulder is on a ball joint. It can swing forward ever so slightly. The arms can move up this much. There is a bicep swivel, double bend on the elbow. There is a ball joint on the wrist. This part can move out. Take this piece out, and you plug it back into another peg, and this is what I mean about the punching thing and the beam shield. And going on to the full cloth unit, these little binders are on ball joints, and this part can move in and out. The flaps on the chest are on a ball joint. You do get a bit of an ab crunch, and as for the back crunch, you get a little more until you pop off the waist swivel. The front skirt can move out this much, the side skirt moves out a little bit, and the back skirt is in a fixed position. The leg can kick this far up, this far back. It can go out this much until you pop off the side skirt, but it can still do the full splits. You get a thigh swivel, double bend at the knee. The ankle guard is on a ball joint. The foot can move out that far, move back this much, and it is on a ball joint, so for a pivot, it's actually not that bad. Moving on to the backpack, all 4 of these are on a ball joint, and it can rotate. And if you want to adjust the thrusters, you basically unplug that and plug it back in again, but in a different angle. Here he is right next to the standard size RX-782, and as usual, the Crossbone Gundam is shorter than the Gundam. I mean, yes, it is correct. The Crossbone X-0 is shorter than the standard Gundam, but it should be just a little shorter. Next up, here he is right next to the HGUC Crossbone Gundam. And are you seeing what I'm seeing? The HGUC Crossbone Gundam is shorter than the X-0, which is kinda odd. But anyways, at least they still complement each other, right? And finally, here he is right next to the Earthrise / Kingdom Optimus Prime and Godzilla. And since I forgot to compare Godzilla and Prime to GM Striker, here he is, just to kind of make up for it. So that's about it for the size comparison. Let's move on to my final thoughts. So for my final thoughts, overall, I am very pleased with this kit, and I'm so happy that I got it. Earlier in the review, I forgot to say that this uses the Crossbone Gundam X1 kit as a base, which is also another great kit. It has great amount of accessories, great articulation, though the color separation is a bit lacking. It's just that you're going to have to put a little more effort to make it pop if you're up for the challenge. I forget to mention that it has good amount of surface details, though I do wish it does have more. So if you want to scribe this kit, go for it. It's hard for me to recommend this kit because it's P-Bandai. Since I'm living in the US, well, it is a bit pricey, and if you really want to get it, you're going to have to go for it, man. And since this is a pirate Gundam, well, I'll let my friends say it.
Because pirates plus Gundams equals badass.
Damn right, TFG. Damn right. That's about it for the review. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I know I'm dragging this video for too long, so if you made it this far, once again, thank you for watching. If you're new here, consider subscribing if you want to see more content. If you have any questions, any concerns, drop them in the comments below. Leave a like as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. I got one more Halloween episode for you coming up. This time, it's about zombie transformers.